Hey guys, I'm here just to talk about deinstitutionalization and the impact of community-based care on the lives of Lynn Moore and Bernie Anthony. I think those are the two men that I really wanted to discuss. But at first, I was really just shocked to hear out of all the inmates who will be released this coming year, around 50% of them will have some kind of mental illness. And I think that's really shocking because these people need help and need, someone to watch over them and to help them make sure that they take their medications and make sure that they will succeed in the real world. And probably half of them will max out and not have someone watching over them. And like the video said, 18 months or after their release, some of them will end up back in jail. And I think that's just really sad. I think the pros of deinstitutionalization is it gave them many mentally ill citizens or people, gave them back their rights, and it focused on treating, the untreatable. So the people who, maybe like had schizophrenia, it focused on letting them get the help that they needed, and it forced the caregivers to kind of look back at them. And I think the cons of it is there are many people who are not receiving this treatment that they really need, and that's really awful because all these inmates who are leaving the prisons coming up, they're not going to have a hospital or not going to have like the chance of going to a certain house or a home to get help, and I think that's really awful. So I'm going to go on and talk about Lynn Moore. Just a little bit background. Lynn Moore, he was a gentleman who was arrested over 20 times, but he was only in prison 4 times. He became tired of taking his medication because he thought he was cured. And the voices in his name, if this rings a bell, is Bin Laden, and that was, the voice that was telling him what to do, different things. He got treatment in prison. They had a treatment team, and while he was in there, he didn't hear, while he was in prison, he doesn't hear any voices, and he was released with no parole, so that's meaning he was maxed out where he could just go on and live his life like normal. He became his own advocate for himself, so that's really hard for a lot of inmates because they don't have the chance to have someone watch over them and get the help and make sure that they're staying on track just like they were in prison. So whenever they start to feel okay, then they don't have to take it anymore. No one's telling them you need to take this. After he was released, he went to Refuge for Hope, which was kind of a home. The home was there to better himself. So he had to go in there. He couldn't be drinking, and drugs were really looked down upon. He suffers, just a little more of his history, he suffers from alcohol and drug abuse, as well as paranoid schizophrenia. So this was hard because he was already codependent. So even he was an addict, an alcohol, drug addict. He was abusing that, and then on top of it, he was a paranoid schizophrenic. So it just made his recovery and everything a lot harder. He did want to try to find a job, so he met with his case manager. So he was already on the path of setting goals and wanting to better himself. He said that he didn't want to go back to jail. So he was there for 2 months at this home, and he failed a breathalyzer, so he was out for 30 days. And then within 3 months, or within a couple months, he was throwing rocks at a house and was arrested, and had to serve for 3 months. And he, at this moment in time, he didn't believe that any of his illness or his voices he was hearing were a part of his illnesses. And he was arrested a week after being released from throwing the rocks at someone's house. The other guy was Bernie Anthony, and he was in jail 3 times, and he just kept saying he wanted protective custody. He was also schizophrenic. He went to jail and received mental health care. Um, I'm sorry, excuse me. I have the hiccups. He knows what makes him paranoid, so he knew what would trigger it, and then he would have to sit and think and kind of work it out. He found a place in Pennsylvania for people, and most of them were mentally ill, and they were mostly all on public assistance. They provided bed, medications, and meals. If they refused the medication, then they wouldn't get them. He would just have to talk to his psychiatrist one time every 2 weeks. 2 weeks after he went off the radar, he was back in jail shortly after. So I think that one of the patterns that we see here is these people go into a home and start to get their life back on track, and then for whatever reason don't continue whatever they're doing, and it kind of just falls back. I think that the criminal justice programs, I think some of them are really good, but I don't think that people should be in state facilities for not they have no control over what they do, because it's literally people telling them you need to do this, and if they don't, they're paranoid, they're scared for their lives. I think that it would be a lot better if we had somewhere for these people to go, and it would just be a lot nicer. I do think that a successful release from prison should entail someone helping all of these people out, kind of a step-by-step, that they have to meet with someone at least first, starting out, say, the first month, meet with someone twice a week, eat for the first month, and then go to just once a week, and then just kind of lean off of it and see how they go. But I think it should be a priority to get these people who do have mental illnesses living on their own and back on their feet, but I don't think we should just be throwing them out there for them just kind of to be on their own. I think we do need to give them a little help, and we do need to have the healthcare workers willing to do this. But, so that's my spiel. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.